Hello everyone and welcome to another Stargate lore video. Today we're going to be talking about the Omeyocan. History. The Omeyacans were an ancient civilization, however, sadly like most races, we know very little about their actual history. We know that at some point in the past, the ancients came to their world, which is labeled as P7X377, and left a Stargate. Later on, they fought a group of exiled Gua'uld who were exiled for being too evil, which, if you're exiled by the Gua'uld for being too evil, you must be pretty evil. Anyway, many of the Omeyocans were killed in the fighting, but only one Gua'uld exile survived, a Gua'uld queen named Kotlakul. After this event, the remaining Omeyocans traveled to Earth, possibly before Ra discovered it, and while on Earth they helped develop the Mayan and Aztec cultures. When Ra and the Gua'uld did show up and conquer the planet, the Omeyocans created an enclave of worlds not connected to the Stargate network so these humans could live in peace and safety from the Gua'uld. We know the name of at least 4 of these human groups: the Tolan, the Obrian, the Yaxkin, and the Exolatan. However, there's something of a lore conflict going on here. In the novel City of the Gods, we learn the Omeyocan seed human groups outside of the Gate network to be free of the Gua'uld. But we know both the Tolan and the Obrian did have Stargates, and we're never given an explanation on how the gates got there, at least as far as the novel is concerned. With the Yaxkin, we know the Gua'uld did find their world despite not having a gate.
They'll come in ships next time. They'll bring an army.
And just add one when they conquered the planet. We also know the Gua'uld did try and conquer the Obrian.
They'll come in ships next time. They'll bring an army.
So it's possible they just left a gate when they left. But with the Tolan, as far as we know, they were never conquered by the Gua'uld. And the Exolatan weren't even seeded by the Omeyocans. The original group on the moon settled by the Omeyocans were all killed off when the Gua'uld discovered the moon and brought their Aztec slaves to kill everybody.
They'll come in ships next time. They'll bring an army.
And of course, they brought a Stargate with them. By the way, does anyone else think this whole enclave of worlds really didn't work out? I mean, 3 of the 4 groups we know about were found by the Gua'uld.
They'll come in ships next time.
2 were completely wiped out.
They'll bring an army.
And while this did produce 2 very advanced human groups, they both really didn't do a lot to help bring down the Gua'uld Empire. Another side note is the Obrian Gate is weird. It's not the usual gray color we see with pretty much every other Stargate. It's a bronze color, but still has the same design as the rest of the Milky Way gates. I couldn't find any in-universe or out-of-verse reason as to why this is. If anyone knows why, please tell me, because I legitimately have no idea. Anyway, the next event we know about them happened in 1971, where Nicholas Bellard, Daniel's grandfather, discovered the crystal skull on Earth and was transported to P7X377, where he would meet the giant aliens for the first time. However, when he returned, no one believed him and he could not repeat the process as the temple was destroyed. Years later, SG-1 would go to P7X377 and find a skull there. Daniel activated, but before it could bring SG-1 into the reality to meet the Omeyocans, Teal'c shot it with a Zat, resulting in Daniel being stuck out of phase, with Nicholas being the only one who could see him. They would return to the planet and complete the process and meet the Omeyocans, with the Omeyocan saying,
Right. Well, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that.
which translates to "the enemy of my enemy is my friend" in Mayan. Daniel, realizing they were referring to the Gua'uld as the enemy, said that they were travelers who came in search of friendship, and that they would like to exchange their knowledge and culture. The Omeyocan they met, named Quetzalcoatl, God, someone's losing their job over this, said they agreed to their terms and said Nicholas could stay, acting as a somewhat ambassador. And that's pretty much where their history ends. We have no idea what they've been doing since then, if they helped bring down the Gua'uld Empire in any way, or what they've been doing since the downfall of the Empire, or if they stood up to other threats in the universe is completely unknown. Biology. Biologically, the Omeyocans exist in a different phase of visibility that we know humans cannot naturally perceive. In order for at least humans to see them, a large amount of lepton radiation must be released with the aid of Crystal Skull that will pull anyone nearby into an alternate reality where they can be seen. When we do see them, there are 2 major things to know about them. One is that they are huge in comparison to humans, and 2, they appear to be made out of mist. And that's pretty much about it. We don't know anything else about their biology besides that. Technology. We only have one example of Omeyocan technology to look at, and that being their crystal skulls, which act as a dimension shifting and transportation device. Since the Omeyacans exist in a different phase of visibility, their skulls will release a massive amount of lepton radiation, which will pull anyone nearby into an alternate reality where the Omeyacans can be visible. While in this reality, anyone who is pulled in are out of phase with the rest of reality, and thus are able to walk through things that are in phase. The skulls also use this radiation as a form of transportation between two skulls. I wouldn't say that no race ever made anything like the Stargates, but the skulls come pretty close. However, they're not as widespread as a network as compared to the gates. It also should be noted that in order for the skulls to work, one must use the pyramids created by the Omeyocans as well, and without them the skulls are just that, crystal skulls. In fact, as far as Earth scientists can tell, the skulls are just
a paperweight.
Relations with other races. The Omeyocans have hostile relations with the Goa'uld, although interestingly enough, hostility was not started by the official Goa'uld Empire, but rather a group of exiles of the Empire. However, odds are there was some contact and conflict when the official empire took Earth. As for humans, they seem to have a good relations, although it's unknown if they have a strong alliance. They also, it would stand to reason, have good relations with any race opposed to the Goa'uld, such as the Ons or the Ritu. We just don't know if they have contact with them. Fun facts. For fun facts, I found two. First was that Omeyocan was not the first name for this race. Originally they did not have a name and were only known as the Giant Aliens. After that they were going to be called the
Omeyocan.
in the unmade Stargate SG-1 file at Stargate Season 3 rulebook for the Stargate SG-1 role-playing game. But as I said, it was never made. Instead, the name comes from the Stargate novel Stargate SG-1 City of the Gods. Their final name being named after a Newtonian term meaning place of duality. The second fun fact is that many writings in the Omeyocan pyramids resemble that of the Furlings. This led many to believe that the Omeyocans are the Furlings, and in the novel it was hinted that maybe the Omeyocans are the Furlings. However, it has been stated that we have never seen the Furlings on screen. However, another hint in the book is that the Omeyocans may be computerized constructs created by the Furlings, which is rather an interesting idea, and I think it explains a lot of the oddities around the Omeyocans. And that was the Omeyocan. I really don't know how to feel about this race. Like, in the expanded material, they're given this coolish backstory where they help develop the Mayan and Aztec cultures, and they create like this separate transportation network outside of the gate system. But like, in the show, they don't do anything. And their design is kinda to be honest. It's just a giant ghost, essentially. Like, I guess that's kind of cool, but given that they can't really interact outside of this weird phase visibility thing, it's like, how do they interact with other races?